And we found out too. What are you doing about your business? Do you want more clients? Do you want more people to know about the services that you do provide? Do you have a luncheon coming? What about your premieres? Call MBC. Advertise your birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, church program, or request our coverage at your function. MBC, at your service 24/7. Call 832-887-6452 or call 281-888-9502. MBC, your favorite station, sharing African views.
Forget about Christian or Muslim. Nigeria is not a country that is totally Muslim or a Christian. All what we need is somebody that can lead the country to a promised land.
As a mother, these are too many things that loaded in you, so you have to understand that if God gave you all these realities, He's also giving you grace and capacity.
Thank you. Yes, I love what I do. Shegungele, this is what they call me, so this is Shegungele.
People assume quality car insurance has to cost more. People assume too much. The truth is, drivers who switched to Allstate last year saved money and got better protection. So get the facts, because you know what they say about people who assume. They pay more for car insurance than you and me.
Call Kayode Ajanaku, 9903 State Highway 6 South, Suite 600, Sugarland, Texas 77498. Telephone 713-776-3275.
Welcome to Trinity Africa Bar and Grill at Suite J, 5700 South Gessner, Houston, Texas 77036. Come dine in a contemporary setting and enjoy our specialties like Francophone coconut rice, grilled fish, plantain and African spice, jollof rice, pounded yam and ogbono soup, vegetable soup, and much more. Calling to order your takeout and outdoor catering and experience our second-to-none services at an affordable price. Take advantage of our $10 lunch special from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Trinity African Bar and Grill is located at Suite J, 5700 South Gessner, Houston, Texas 77036. A taste that commands order for more.
Welcome to Wazobia Market.
Very beautiful morning to you all in the city of Houston. My name is Jumoke, and thank you for keeping faith with your regular Saturday morning tradition done on MBC. And I hope you all enjoyed your week. Mine was all filled with activities. I was not sure if I was going to be able to pull through it. Had lots of things to do in between. Of course, I also added a year this past week, so it was a mixture of fun and work for me. So I hope overall you all enjoyed your week. Thanks for staying tuned. As usual, we'll be opening our phone lines very soon for you to join our discussion this morning. You know how we do it live. We welcome your discussions, your comments, and your contributions. And also, you can always send us text messages, because we've been told that at times people try to reach us, they're not able to get through to us. Just send us your text messages. We'll read them like someone did last week, Saturday. And this week, we'll be starting off with that text with our in-house contributor, Professor Patrick Omosage, who will be joining me on the other side of the headline news. But for now, let's quickly take a look at things happening in Nigeria, around Africa, Guinea-Bissau, or in Egypt. There are lots of things happening around Africa in our headlines news. We have This Day in History also waiting for you. Our discussion segment is there. But right before we do that, let's just quickly take some stories that emanated from Nigeria this past week. One about President Muhammadu Buhari suspending the head of Nigerian Immigration Service. That was a very big one, and lots of speculations around this suspension. Some immediate and remote causes that people have attributed to the suspension. Also, President Muhammadu Buhari is set to set up a special court to try looters in Nigeria. So that's another one that has been pretty controversial. And the head of Nigerian Customs decided to proceed on a voluntary resignation this past week also. So he wrote a letter to the president saying with immediate effect that he will be proceeding on a voluntary resignation from being head of Nigerian Customs Service. And of course, the appointment of the former Lagos State Internal Revenue Service boss as a new head of the Federal Internal Revenue Service, FIRS. So these and many more things we'll be discussing this morning on Dawn. You're welcome to join our discussion in 713-340-7514. So the number will be on the screen shortly. But for now, let's check out what's happening around Africa in a wrap-up we call Headlines. We'll be back.
Oh
You're welcome back to Dawn this beautiful Saturday morning. Like I told you, the show is going on live, and the number to call is 713-340-7514 if you want to be part of this discussion this morning. And the things we'll be talking about, I said the things. We'll be talking about a couple of things that have happened in Nigeria in the past 1 week that have generated discussions and debates. How did I forget to mention the statement of Reverend Father Kuka, who said that the president or the system should just let go of those who have looted the system. And that really raised a lot of controversies from left, right, people talking about it. This morning, we'll be starting off our discussion by taking a message we got last week. But then, let me quickly say a big welcome to you, Prof. Thank you for joining us this morning, as usual.
Good morning.
So what in your own thought has been, what's the last 1 week been in Nigeria?
Look, I'm going to say this again. Nigeria's been in a holding pattern. All we hear really is that we've got to fight corruption. Now, is it been done in the background? I don't know, but we're in a holding pattern because that's all we hear about. We've got to fight corruption. I've looked at all the president's meetings, or he's met with several bodies in the last 1 week.
In the last 1 week, yes.
Even though not physically, but being represented by someone. And every statement or every speech that his representation has given is all about corruption. And I'm fine with that. But again,
I was going to ask you if anything was wrong with that.
No, but we're in a holding pattern because nothing seems to be happening.
Okay, so let's just quickly start off, like I mentioned, with this message we got last week Saturday after we signed off with you.
Yeah.
And the message came from Glory, who said she's from West Chase, somewhere in the city of Houston here. And this is what her message says. Why are we not using the quota system in these key ministries, considering the fact that the wealth of the nation is from the South? The problem with Nigeria is not about age. We should be talking about accountability and people not seeing government appointments as a cash cow. So what's your take on that? That was a message you got last week Saturday after we signed off with you.
Constitutionally, positions, major positions in Nigeria have to go by has to be divided almost equally. It's got to be a minister from every state. Now, that is on the ministerial level. On other levels, I know we do have some kind of, what do we call it again? Quota system.
Quota system.
Yeah, especially in the ministries, directors and all that. Look, they would have to appoint people that are qualified on the long run. Look, like I always say, if there's no qualified person from Edo State, where I come from, I'm using Edo State just because that's where I come from.
That's where you come from.
If there's no qualified person for, say, finance ministry, that at least the president finds qualified, what is he supposed to do? Should come and pick me just because I come from Edo State? We've got to be a little bit concerned about this. I mean, our quota system shouldn't be that rigid. Otherwise, we're going to run into problems. I mean, there are a lot of qualified people in the country. Let us use them the way we see fit, you know. Being dogmatic about the quota system is a little bit problematic. Constitutionally, though, the ministries or the ministers have to come from every state.
Every state. Okay, so that's, I hope that answered your question, or that also added to your thoughts. Gloria, thanks for the message. Don't forget that you can always be a part of this contribution by simply calling the number on your screen, 713-340-7514, or you could just send us a text message if you're not able to call or you're not getting through to us. Our Facebook page is very active right now, so go on our Facebook page and type your message. We'll read it live on the show this morning as they're coming. So we were trying to look at the last 1 week in Nigeria, and one of the many things that have happened that have generated a lot of discussion has been the creation of a special court to try looters in Nigeria. What's your take on this? This was just this past week.
There are a couple of ways to go about that. The president will have to initiate the idea.
But is it constitutionally right?
It has to go through the Congress. They can set up.
The Senate.
They can set it up through the Congress.
Okay.
But if he's trying to set it up just if he's trying to set it up just by himself, if he's just going to set it up by himself, then we're going to run into problems, because I don't think that would work constitutionally. But the Senate and the House of Reps can decide to set up something that would work. On the other hand, I believe the present cuts we have can do the job if they can find the right charges for the so-called culprits.
Okay,
That's
one thing you have always argued in the past is when you talk about people who have looted the treasury, the Nigerian treasury, you say that the Nigerian constitution has just two laws.
No,
like we have
not
two
the constitution. The legal system.
Yes.
That I could
Scammers.
find. Yes, 419 and embezzlement.
Embezzlement.
Yes.
Yeah, but most of these people, well, people would argue, let me say, the school of thought will argue that most of these people fall under the embezzlement category.
Yeah, and that's why I've said you must find the right charges. You must charge them properly. You see, because even out here, the biggest problem to convicting someone that we all see as guilty is if you charge wrongly. We have very good lawyers in Nigeria. If you charge those people wrong, they're going to go free. And on the other hand, we must not also have the lynch mob mentality, which is what we tend to have right now. We just believe everybody that has worked in government should be lynched, or everybody is guilty. And it doesn't work that way. I've cited an example over and over again, and which is the one of Professor Bolaji Aluko.
Aluko, yes.
Who is the Vice Chancellor of the University at Otuoke. Someone leaked it that he was being paid some extra money, and everybody started saying he should return the money. But he came out immediately to correct it. That no, I'm not being paid illegally. I'm being paid because that's what I negotiated with the government. I've been a professor in Harvard for 30 years, and my pension has to continue to be paid, or I'm going to lose it. So the government gives me extra money to pay my pension in the United States. But on the first thought, when it was leaked, you will think he stole money, that he had been paid over what he's worth. And that's what we've got to be very, very careful with.
Okay, so we have a first call this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Yes.
My name is Uche. I'm calling Uche.
Go ahead, Uche. Thanks for calling. Go ahead and join the discussion, please.
Yeah, I'm calling from Katy.
Okay.
What is Prof trying to say? Are you now saying that those people, or you don't even believe that some people have actually embezzled the treasury of the country, and there shouldn't be a way for them to get punished and for them to return the money? Because you are now talking about the Constitution. I know we have to. It's like when we're talking about democracy. African democracy should not be standardized with American democracy. We are unique people, and we have to be dealt according to our own code. So if you say you want to follow the bureaucracy, we're not going to get anything done, and that is just my opinion.
Okay, thank you so much for calling, Uche. Let's have your take on that, Prof.
And he's very right. That is the opinion of a lot of people. But he said something that we've got to look at, that we cannot follow what maybe obtains in the West. Now, what is it that obtains in Nigeria? A lynch mob? A lot of honest people will get lynched. I mean, when I use the word lynch, I mean, it's not, not
right,
killing
not the literal, yes.
They will get lynched. And that's why, again, we've got to be very careful. I keep using the phrase, find the right charges.
So how do they find this right charges?
I'm not a lawyer. But all I'm saying is that because even in a system like America that is this thorough, I've always looked at a lot of cases that people do go free. I used the Trayvon Martin and Judge Zimmerman as an example. Zimmerman got free because he was charged wrongly. He was charged for murder. If they had charged him for manslaughter or reckless homicide, he probably would be in jail. But he was charged for murder. It was a wrong charge because it was a fight. He fortunately had a legal gun and he killed a young man. It was a silly, really unfortunate incident, but they charged him wrongly and now he walked. We've got to be very careful. Charges make a whole lot of difference. The way you charge people. makes the difference in a case, especially when you have to go to court of law. And that's what we have to do. We've got to go to the court of law.
Okay, right now, let's take a quick break. John is right here in MBC. The number to call is right there on your screen, 713-340-7514. Send us your messages on Facebook. I've seen a message pop up already, but I have to just take my time to read through it and then relate this to Prof, and he can answer this question for us. But then, wherever you are, tune in, 713-340-7514. Let's talk about the setting up of a special court to try looters in Nigeria. Are you in support of this or not? You can also tweet us. My handle is I am Jimmy. That's at I am Jimmy. That's my handle on Twitter. We'll be right back after this break.
The car insurance has to cost more. People assume too much. The truth is, drivers who switched to Allstate last year saved money and got better protection. So get the facts, because you know what they say about people who assume. They pay more for car insurance than you and me.
Call Kayode Ajanaku, 9903 State Highway 6 South, Suite 600, Sugarland, Texas 77498. Telephone 713-776-3275.
All right, you welcome back to Dawn on MBC, and I was still discussing a couple of things with Prof right before we came on camera. We had Uche call to ask about why do we have to use the standard in the West that is obtainable in the Western world, and you were just trying to still buttress the fact that look, we need to find the right charges to be able
to nail
these people. And one of the things you made mention of was if people look at the cost of something some couple of years back or when these contracts were implemented, what if they're able to prove that these contracts were really fraud? Some of them probably not even done at all, or some were just overinflated.
Let's take the recent example of what I'm talking about, lynching. Somebody cancels a contract that Fashola signed,
yes,
in Lagos about rebuilding a Falomo shopping center. What we heard Ambody and his people say is that they cancelled because it's unfair to Lagosians, that only 50 million naira was paid for the 50-year lease on the property. The company comes out a day later and tells us that the 50 million that they paid was more, I mean, what they call it, it was more like a fee for the agreement. And that the Lagos State Developmental LSDPC, or whatever it's called, on completion of the complex, would own 33% of it for 50 years. So the company, after they start deriving revenue or profit from it, LSDPC gets 33% of it. And after 50 years, it reverts to LSDPC. Now, when you read both sides, you say, what? So why did the Ambody group say that this was unfair? It looks like a fair deal. But they're trying to lynch Fashola and his group for signing what they considered. Anybody that thought it was 1 million naira a year. Falomo shopping complex is prime property.
It is
prime property.
Location.
So anybody that, when you hear 50 million for 50 years, you say this has got to be insane. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to guide against. We've got to be very careful, because a lot of innocent people who thought they were doing the right thing will be railroaded. And then we're going to now, we'll find ourselves in trying to settle muddled waters. Because I don't know Fashola as a person, but I've been to Lagos many times, and I thought he's done a fine job. Will there be some things he cannot explain? Yeah. Leaders can't explain everything. But when we see situations like this,
speculations of a 78 million naira to build a website.
Yeah, 70 million to build a website. I don't know what website it is, especially his personal website. Again, it comes into question. He has to be questioned about it. He's tried to answer or reply
to explain
but the explanation doesn't hold water on my part. But again, he was a good governor from what I could see in Lagos State. A lot of things were implemented, and Lagos has done well for itself.
Okay, so now let's move to another topic. The issue of the suspended head of Nigeria Immigration Service. Now, his suspension came this past week, and lots of people said, oh, it's about time he got that suspension, a fallout from the incident of the people who were seeking employment with the Immigration Service who died, and also some people speculated that it's an immediate cause of the ISIS leader who got a visa, a Nigerian visa. So what's your take on this?
Look, I don't know how visas work. I mean, it's a long time I got a visa. But so I don't know what they check on and what they don't check on. But when we have an embassy located in such a sensitive area of the world, which was Lebanon, I understand it got the visa.
Lebanon.
Yeah, got the visa from Lebanon. I think they should have been a little bit more thorough. Now, it's a suspension, which is good because as the head, you've got to take the bullet. So it's a suspension, and I'm sure they're going to do an investigation as to what happened. Look, I don't want him
which they have started. Because
I don't want him thrown out of office because we're again speculating that is why he's been suspended. But again, we all want to believe that it's a long time coming. What happened last year to those seeking employment in immigration and the way they arranged it was enough for him to have been let go at that time.
Okay, so with this now, which the recent one, he said so. Okay, that's what people have been talking about. And I just made a couple a bullet point of some of the things that have really generated discussions both on Facebook, been tweeted, and things have been happening around Nigeria in the last 1 week. And the head of Nigerian Customs proceed on voluntary retirement. It seems like a major shake-up everywhere. And he said, his letter, with immediate effect.
Yeah. He's had enough. Look, I can decide that, look, I've had enough. He's had enough. Look, there's certain things I personally don't want to dabble in. A man resigns voluntarily, that's fine. Find someone else, replace him, and then if down the road you find things that he has done that's illegal and all that, let him pay for it. But I don't think we need to start crying. A man has decided that look, we always say Nigerians don't resign from positions. Now one resigns and we're complaining. He's resigned. Let him go.
Okay, so let's go to this final one just before we let you off this morning. And it talks about the appointment of the former Lagos State Head of Internal Revenue Service in the person of Babatunde Fowler as a new head of the acting head of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. A welcome development or not?
I think it's an extremely positive and welcome development because look, Lagos, he headed the Lagos internal revenue that went from 4 billion a month
to about 20
billion a month.
Yes.
Now, those of us that have done things in Lagos do understand there's a lot of double taxation and all that, but that's what is going to happen until things are streamlined properly. But the fact that he was able to raise that kind of money in Lagos, can you imagine what kind of money can be raised federally, inland, within Nigeria, outside our oil money? Because that's the problem we have. I keep using an example, and I'm trying to sell property now, and the Canadian government is really sitting on my head because they're waiting for their share. Nobody sells property in Nigeria and gives a dime to the government.
True.
I know people that built a house at 30 million, sell it at 120 million.
We missed another call. Yeah, go ahead.
People that built a house or bought a house at 30 million, and in 2 years, sell it at 120 million, and don't give a dime to the government. I mean, and these are things to talk about. We've got to make laws. We've got to start to find ways to make money for our government.
Okay. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, go ahead and give us your contribution, please.
My name is Kalani.
Okay.
I'm calling from Richmond. My questions are actually in two different types of questions that I have, and they go to the Prof directly. I want to ask him, what exactly will he summarize it to that, okay, the best way to discipline these thieves, political thieves, so to say, in Nigeria, in one word, what best way can we just deal with these people once and for all? And secondly, Junior, you mentioned at the beginning of the program that one reverend, whatever, from Nigeria said something at the beginning of the week. I also want him to react to what that person said within the week.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Okay, so you've heard those two questions, Prof. Go
yes. Ahead. The first one is...
How do we deal with...
How do we deal with political thieves?
Pretty interesting.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but if the suggestion is that, we just throw all of them in jail, that will never be my lesson. I keep saying, when you have a leaking faucet, what you do is that you stop the leak. Then you mop the floor. You don't mop the floor first.
While the water is still leaking.
Nigeria is still leaking. Let's stop the leak. To me, we're going it kind of in a wrong way.
Okay.
Because on the long run, a lot of people are going to go free. And that's not what we want. We want them to pay for what we've considered stealing, looting our treasury. Let them pay for it. But let's get it right. Block the holes in which people have been stealing. And while doing that, you actually find the source of how they stole the money. But we're mopping the floor from a leaking faucet without stopping the faucet from leaking.
So, for you, we have to first try to deal with the issue of corruption,
yes.
Which one of the ways of dealing with them is we should first plug.
Yeah, and through regulations, through a lot of good regulations. And I'm very, look, Mr. Fowler's appointment is really one I like. Forget about all the talk about a doctorate, a fake, not fake, he was given a doctorate degree by really a non-existent.
Yes, which is,
look.
Which has gone online to go and fix.
It doesn't really, it's not a big deal. The man is qualified from the position he's held. Again, I go back to Edo State. You're not going to pick a revenue collector from Edo State that barely collects any serious revenue and put him at the federal because he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the know-how to do it on a mass. Lagos is the biggest revenue collector in the country, and he designed it, and he's been successful at it. And so I think it's a very, very good pick for the president.
Okay, so if you've just tuned in, the show is called Dawn on MBC, and we're discussing the issues in the last 1 week in Nigeria. We have moved from the setting up of the special court to try looters in Nigeria to the suspension of the head of Nigerian Immigration Service, up until the voluntary resignation of the head of Nigerian Customs Service. We've also looked at the appointment of the former Lagos State boss of Internal Revenue Service as a new acting head of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Now, the last but not the least that we'll be discussing this morning is Reverend Father Matthew Kuka's comment as a member of the Peace Committee when they all visited. Remember, we talked about this last week slightly, and then, but this past week, in an interview with Channels, everyone has been on his case about the fact that he's saying that they should let bygones be bygones. Let it go.
Now, from what he's saying now, it looks as if he's backsliding. I don't know his exact words,
yes.
The statement, but it seems as if he's backsliding. Again, look, that's his personal opinion that bygones should be bygones and all that. But no, the people in the country don't want bygones to be bygones. People want accountability. And the president has promised that. It is the route in which we get to people being accountable is where we're having issues. The special courts, or leakages that, someone has 6 billion and all that. All those are the issues that, we're having to deal with now. I don't want speculations. I don't want mob lynching. I want people to be accounted, to come out and you tell us this is what they did, charged properly. I keep going back to that. Charge them properly, and then, we'll get results. Okay. But Father Kuka or Bishop Kuka, he's definitely backsliding from what he said. It might have been, that was his initial thoughts, and then thinking about it again and all the pressure he's gotten.
And all the presentation that is brought for him. Okay, thank you very much, Prof, for joining us this morning. We'll take a quick break, and we most really say a big thank you. As usual, whenever we're calling you, you're here to help us understand the topics better and in perspectives. So we'll take another break now, and Dawn will be back. When we come back after that, recently I met with a Nigerian gospel artist who from Nigeria was just doing his thing. He found his way to some other parts of the world, and finally he's here in the U.S. You'll get to know who that is after this break. Don't go anywhere. course, when I stumbled on that musical video, the first thing that caught my attention was the skyline. To see it was something pretty different from the South Africa, Lagos skyline that we used to see in most of the Nigerian musical videos. This was shot in Abeokuta. Well, they called it the city under the rock, or the city that sought refuge under the rock. And I think that was just a very beautiful musical video right there. So, well, it's almost time for us to go on this show, but you know what? Let's quickly, I told you that not too long ago, I worked into one of the most popular gospel artists here in the United States. He has gone to several cities here in the U.S. performing at various churches. Is out with his musical video earlier this year. We did speak with him on the show as a guest on the line while he was in Maryland. But then I caught up with him in the city of Houston, and we had this one-on-one chat. Enjoy this with Dari David.
My actual name is Olusola Oludare Ojetola, but my stage name is Dari David. For many years, I felt that I needed a name that can go around the world, because I believe God was going to prosper my ministry and take me around the world. So I was looking for a name that everybody can pronounce, and because my last name, it's actually attached to masquerade, and that's not actually what the gospel is about. So the name Ojetola, I had to remove it from my name. So I had to look for a name that signifies praise to God. Yeah, so, and David was that kind of a name. So I just picked out Dari from my actual name, and I added it to David, which means Dari the psalmist. That's all it means. I started playing music. I've been part of a choir from children's choir when I was like 6 years old, but I started doing music fully on my own. I started playing drums at the age of 10. I was 10 years old when I started playing drums for my church, and then 15 years old I started directing my own choir. I started my own choir actually at the age of 15. So I've been doing music from when I was 10. Number one, I feel it's destiny. Number two, I feel it's the passion I just have for it. I just love to do music. Even before I can say that I was a born again Christian or I love God, music was the primary thing. I just love to do it. For us at that time, it was a means of attracting females. Let me say it like that. It was a means of getting attention. It was a way of making people know us and being famous. So we would be on the drums, and after we play drums, we walk in between the high. Everybody will see us. They'll be like, "Oh, that's a guy playing." And then, I mean, you can talk to anybody you want. You can have a lot of attention. So for us at that time, that was the main purpose, until I discovered that was not the purpose why God called me today. So I started playing music because of the passion, because of the joy I find in it, and because of, I think, it's destiny also.
Interviews, news, and much more on Ajoke's Diary. Ajoke's Diary continues in a moment. Ajoke's Diary. This time, it's personal. Stay tuned.
Nobody wants to hear that their child want to be a musician. So I was in that kind of family too. And for me to tell my parents that I wanted to be a musician was a big problem. So like every other person, I would tell them I want to become a pharmacist, I want to become a doctor, I want to become an engineer, I want to become a lawyer. So I tried the JAMB, because we have an exam in Nigeria called the Joint Admission Matriculation Board. So I failed like 3 times and I gave up. And then I didn't try it anymore for a few years, until my mentor advised that I should study music, that since this is the passion I have, I should just go and study it fully. So it was at that point that I reconsidered going to school, and then I applied for it, and then just one trial, I got into the course to study music at the OAU Ife. So I feel that when there's something that God wants you to do, you will achieve it easily. You won't have to struggle to get it. When I left school, I started directing different choirs. Actually, I've been directing choirs before I went to school, but I got this very good job at a very good church when I left school. It was like right on time. I got a very good choir directing job, and then I still had my studio, because before I went to school. I actually had a studio. I was an entrepreneur by myself. I started my own home studio. I took it out to a particular office. I rented an apartment and I started doing my studio there. And I had a lot of customers actually. So every weekend I would come back from school and run my studio back in Lagos. And then on Monday I'll be in Ife doing school. And then so I had to come back to all that when I finished school. So majorly I just continued the music thing after school, and then I started recording different artists. I started going for more programs, although I wasn't like a gospel artist like that. I didn't have an album at that point, but I was still doing music like full time at that point also.
There were times in my life that I was so confused, but Jehovah came and found me. He made a way for me in the midst of my struggles. He was there all the way. He's a shepherd for my soul, he's a king of my heart. Ireti day, ewa ba mi yo, ayọ̀ ti dé. Mo ti ní Jésù, ire ti dé o, ẹ wá bá mi yọ̀, ayọ̀ ti dé, mo hallelujah. When the times were hard, I couldn't see my way. It was the compass for my way. Every day, every night, no more sorrow, no more pain. He has taken away my shame. He has given me joy for my morning, strength for my weakness. Ireti de o, ewa ba mi yo, ayọ̀ ti de o, mo ti ní Jésù.
Okay, well, because of time, we're not able to take the whole of that interview, and I must say that it's just an excerpt from one of my shows, but you can always watch it on our YouTube channel, Dawn on MBC. We'll post the whole interview right there. And, well, Barry David is just one of those people, one of the wise who decided to find a way for himself. Despite failing JAMB, that's the Joint Admission Matriculation Board exam in Nigeria, severally, he decided to make a wise decision by going to study music. Today, he's known all over, flying from city to city. Well, what else can I tell you? And that takes me to the final segment of the show, where we're leaving you with this. It's a popular African proverb from Tanzania, and it talks about a wise person would always find a way. Take that with you as you journey this weekend and this coming week. Decide to find a way in every situation. Look at the positive side of life, be optimistic, right? Whatever comes your way, find an opportunity in it. So on behalf of the entire crew for Dawn this morning, we want to wish you all a very pleasant weekend. Enjoy yourself. And we hope to be here again next week, Saturday. Until then, keep adding us as friends on Facebook. Thank you for everyone who's requested us, who's liked our Facebook page. Join our Twitter handle. Join the discussion all the time. Send your text messages. Give us a call at any point. We'll take your messages. Thank you and have a great weekend.